After a relatively light training camp practice on Friday, San Francisco just wrapped up their longest and most grueling training camp practice yet. This practice was so intense, in fact, we saw a minor fight break out. Plus, Jair Brown recorded 2 interceptions. So in this video, I want to break down each position. Starting out with the 2 interception performance by Jair Brown, his first interception came early on in team drills, where he was able to intercept a pass from Brock Purdy when he was targeting Ricky Pearsall on a crosser route. It hit Pearsall in his hands, but he wasn't able to bring it in, allowing Brown to come down with the interception. Brown headed into his sophomore season is in line for a major breakout year. He's already had several interceptions throughout this training camp, and he looks a lot more comfortable than his rookie season, so don't be surprised if he becomes a Pro Bowler this year. His best play of the day was his second interception though. On this play, the defense was running a zone with Deebo Samuel running an in-breaking route over the middle. Brown was able to quickly identify the route and then bait Purdy into throwing it, step in front of Deebo Samuel, and pick it off. Perhaps the biggest improvement Brown's shown from his rookie year is how quickly he identifies plays. And then once the ball's in there, he looks determined to bring it down for himself. So I'm excited to see his growth headed into his second year. As far as Talanoa Hufanga's rehab goes, he could be cleared as early as August 18th, but I still think it's unlikely he's able to get in football shape by the time the season starts. And George Odom, one of the safeties competing for that job, didn't have a great day. Today he gave up a huge touchdown pass to Chris Conley at least 50 yards down the field. Outside of Odom, Malik Mustafa can make a push for that job. He's San Francisco's fastest safety, running his 40 in 4.52 seconds with an injured hamstring, and so far during this training camp, he's able to close on everything pretty quickly, and if he's able to receive more reps at the next level, he should only improve. Moving off San Francisco's safeties and into their corners, they didn't have the greatest day, especially their starters. In one-on-ones, for instance, Charvarius Ward was burned by Frank Darby. San Francisco just acquired this wide receiver, and he's not the fastest. He only ran his 40-yard dash in 4.61 seconds compared to Charvarius Ward's 4.44. And then during Move the Ball, he got flagged for pass interference on Deebo Samuel. Deommodore Lenoir gave up easily the best play for the offense on the day. Deebo Samuel was streaking down the sideline, and Lenoir honestly had pretty decent coverage, but Purdy put it right in there, and Lenoir, despite being right there, wasn't able to make a play on the ball. But he continued his struggles when he was covering Chris Conley, and in a similar way, he had pretty good coverage, but once again, couldn't break up a pass and allow Conley to pick up 20 on him. Meanwhile, Isaac Yiadom didn't have a terrible day, but Trent Taylor did beat him on one-on-ones. It also appeared he gave up a few passes in team drills, including one to Pearsall on the slant. Maybe the best of any of their corners though today had to be the rookie Renardo Green out of Florida State. It looks like San Francisco does either have their nickel or outside corner of the future in him. He does an excellent job of his press man coverage, and while he was aggressive in his coverage during Florida State, he hasn't gotten many penalties during this training camp period. And today in one-on-ones, he was able to shut down Deebo Samuel. He also did a good job in the team portion of drills where Pearsall caught on him, but later he forced an incompletion. I honestly don't know if Green's going to start this year for San Francisco, but he's much better depth than they've had in the past. Moving off San Francisco's corners though, and into their linebackers now, perhaps the worst linebacker on the day today was San Francisco's newly acquired Ezekiel Turner. First in one-on-ones, Jordan Mason, despite not being the fastest running back, was absolutely able to burn Turner on a streak route and made a lunging catch. And then later on, he shoved Mason from behind. Mason took offense from it because the play ended and then shoved him to the ground. Outside of Ezekiel Turner, the player that I've really consistently been impressed with in this group has been D. Winters. Unlike his rookie year, he looks the part of an NFL linebacker. He's added considerable amount of size and strength, and he didn't lose that crazy speed he was known for. And now that D. Winters is coming into his own, you can see why John Lynch compared him to a guy like Dre Greenlaw. With his read step, he identifies where the ball is going, and then often is either the first or second player there. And in one-on-ones, he consistently has solid battles. I think he's one of San Francisco's more under-the-radar linebackers and might even push for one of the starting jobs. Moving off San Francisco's linebackers and into their defensive line, they absolutely dominated today. Starting out in one-on-ones, Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd both had their way with Colt McKivitz. Robert Beal Jr. and Jordan Elliott also had some pretty nice one-on-one battles. But where things really heated up was the team portion of the drills where they had at least 5 sacks on the day. Leonard Floyd, despite being a little bit older, I believe still has it. He had 2 sacks on the day and shows off great acceleration and hand usage. Bosa also appeared to register a sack today. He continues to look like one of the best defensive ends in the league. San Francisco's second-year player, Robert Beal Jr. also was able to record a sack on the day. He just gets off the ball so quickly, it's hard for offensive linemen to keep up. Moving into San Francisco's defensive tackles, Hargrave was also able to record a sack on the day. Perhaps the best looking defensive lineman on the field today though was newly acquired defensive tackle Jordan Elliott. On the day, Elliott had at least 2 sacks and numerous pressures. This offseason, Lynch and Shanahan decided to move off Armstead, and while they made a mistake moving off Buckner, it doesn't appear that's the case here. His replacements in Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins have been pretty lights out throughout this offseason program. Meanwhile, Armstead is still recovering from an injury. Moving off San Francisco's defensive line and into their offensive line, as I was mentioning, Colt McKivitz really struggled on the day. He was beaten both by Floyd and Nick Bosa. Jalen Moore, meanwhile, the tackle filling in for Trent Williams, also struggled today as he was also beat by Leonard Floyd in the team portion of drills. Moving into the competition for the right guard spot, Dominic Pooney continues to receive all first-team reps, and he had some nice battles today in one-on-ones with guys like Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott. Perhaps my favorite part about Pooney's game is how solid he looks in pass protection, which is something San Francisco really has been lacking for the last few years. Aaron Banks also returned to practice with the ones today, and their starting center continues to be Jake Brendel. I would say they both really struggled against the likes of Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott. Moving into San Francisco's tight end group now, perhaps the biggest news today was Cameron Latu wasn't participating. The second-year tight end has continued to struggle to develop and now looks to be on the outside looking in. It's going to be hard to replace guys like Braden Willis, who had a pretty good practice. On the final play, for instance, it was 4th down, and with Brandon Allen scrambling out of the pocket, he was able to find Willis downfield, who made a diving catch. Braden Willis also offers nice versatility, being the backup fullback for Kyle Juszczyk. Outside of Willis, Cameron Latu still would have to beat out Eric Sauber, who also has quietly had a nice camp. He's one of San Francisco's better blocking tight ends and even has had a couple of nice catches in this camp. Moving off San Francisco's tight ends now and into their wide receivers, Deebo Samuel continues to have a nice camp. Early on in the team portion of practice, Deebo Samuel was able to beat Deommodore Lenoir on a streak pattern and pick up maybe 40 or 45 on the play. Deebo didn't stop his production there though, as he continued to catch passes on the day and had several big runs. San Francisco's other veteran, Chris Conley, doesn't just continue to show off his speed, but his ability to win in a variety of ways. First, he beat George Odom over the top downfield for what would have been a touchdown. Then he was able to come back on a dig route on Lenoir and catch it on him. Meanwhile, Trent Taylor continues to have himself a nice camp. He looks extremely solid as a return man, and today he was able to beat both Yidam and Lenoir in one-on-ones. Given how much Kyle Shanahan likes veterans, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trent Taylor stick around. Ricky Pearsall, San Francisco's first-round selection today, did catch a couple of passes, but he was held out of one-on-ones. It appears San Francisco continues to nurture that hamstring issue. Outside of Ricky Pearsall, Danny Gray also was pretty impressive today with a deep catch over the middle. And to end practice, Juwan Jennings had a beautiful over-the-shoulder touchdown grab. Moving into San Francisco's backfield now and into the running backs, Jordan Mason has clearly established himself as the number 2 back for San Francisco headed forward. Every single time he gets the ball, whether he has a running lane or not, he's getting 5 yards. And today he continued to show off his refinement in the passing game where he caught that streak I was mentioning on Ezekiel Turner. I also think Mason is pretty solid in his blocking and would probably start for most teams in this league, but because San Francisco has Christian McCaffrey, he's a backup. As far as San Francisco's quarterbacks today, Brock Purdy had beautiful deep passes both to Chris Conley and Deebo Samuel, but we also saw him throw 2 interceptions to Brown. The first interception, it seemed like Purdy was trying to fit in there and it bounced off Ricky Pearsall's hands. I wouldn't put that too much on him, but the second one, it appears he just missed Brown. Overall though, I'm not too concerned about these interceptions as it appears Purdy has continued to develop from last year. Meanwhile, the quarterbacks in competition for the spot behind Brock Purdy, Joshua Dobbs and Brandon Allen, continue to duke it out. Today, Joshua Dobbs was able to connect on the deep pass to Danny Gray, but outside of that, he really struggled with his consistency. Meanwhile, Brandon Allen offers less upside in my opinion, but more consistency at the position. Both of these quarterbacks long-term don't look great for San Francisco, so I would really like them to start seeing more what they had in Tanner Mordecai, and I expect once he receives his opportunities during these preseason games, he's going to be pretty impressive. Ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts about players that stood out on San Francisco's longest training camp practice yet, and I want to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you could like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.